This is episode Intentions with Jaleesa. Feeling connected is a basic human need, as vital as air, water, and food. I'm here to talk about bridging the gap between ourselves, our friends and family, life partners, and anyone we come in contact with so we can more fully experience connection. Today I have my good friend Jaleesa on the podcast. But before we move on to that interview, I'd like to take a moment to thank this episode's sponsors. This episode is sponsored by Life Unlimited Coaching. They help busy moms ditch fad diets for good. Follow them on Facebook or go to lifeunlimitedpro.com to learn more. A few years ago, I was feeling anxious and overwhelmed. Therapy helped me get through that time by allowing me to share my problems with someone who could view them objectively and help me change my perspective. If you're going through a season of depression, stress, anxiety, or overwhelm, this episode's sponsor, BetterHelp, is a great resource. BetterHelp is online therapy you can access from the comfort and convenience of your own home. All you do is fill out a questionnaire and you'll be matched with a therapist in as little as 48 hours. Your specific needs will be addressed, and if it's not a good fit, you can request a new therapist at any time. Get 10% off your first month by visiting betterhelp.com/A is for adversity. That's betterhelp.com/A is for adversity. This episode is also sponsored by Sherry Fernandez. Sherry has been a guest before on the podcast and will be again soon. Sherry is the author of the book Life Mastery, Personal Progression Toward an Infinite Potential, which just came out on audiobook. Give it a listen today. Her book is amazing because she not only tells you why and what to change in your life, but how. A quote from her book states, "There are books, programs, and speakers that are excellent at motivation. What is unique about the Life Mastery program is how it provides the tools needed to turn motivation into results in every area of life." Okay, hello. I am here with Jaleesa. Hi, Jaleesa.
Hello.
And Jaleesa and I go way back. We have been friends since kindergarten, off and on. We've lived in different states, but have known each other since then. Would you mind introducing yourself a little bit to my audience?
Of course. My name is Jaleesa Snow. I was born and bred in Idaho. I have lived in Southeast Idaho my entire life, and I'm now raising my family here. And so I'm definitely a pure Idaho gal. I have 3 kids. I have a 5-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 1-year-old. And as in addition to all of that busyness that just comes with being a mom, I am also a fitness instructor. I virtually teach Pound Fit, and I also own my own cookie business called Snow Cookie Creation.
Perfect. Thank you. And I wanted to have Jaleesa on the podcast today because I admire the way she is pursuing interests and just takes time for herself. And so in this episode today, we'll focus a lot on just our relationship with ourselves and how we can really hone in on our personality and being true to ourselves by being intentional. So, Jaleesa, like you mentioned, you do Pound Fit and you have your cookie business. So tell us a little bit about that and how you got interested in both of those and kind of what it looks like in your life.
Yeah, of course. So with Pound, it actually kind of goes back a few years. When I was pregnant with my second son, he's my second kid, during his pregnancy, I had really bad depression. And I had struggled with depression on and on in the past. But it wasn't until he was almost a year old that I finally talked to my doctor and got on medication and got help with that. But before that, I was really trying to exercise a lot more and be outside. And so one of my childhood friends, who Jen, you might remember, Ashley Campbell, she's married now. And so she was one of my instructors with Pound. She and another girl named Sasha were teaching Pound when I lived in Rexburg with our little family. And so doing that, I would go once a week, and it was just really nice being able to, I don't know, just being able to physically work out my emotions and, all of the stress and frustrations that come with motherhood and just adulthood and just everything. And so a couple years after doing that, I decided that I wanted to become an instructor with that. And I didn't necessarily want to do like a studio position.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I decided to do it virtually. And so that's been really nice to create my own schedule, have the flexibility of being able to do that, cancel a class if I need to, either because a child is sick or if we have a family vacation or whatever, and being able to just have that. So that was really nice to have that. With cookies.
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you for a minute.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to give a little plug for Jaleesa. I loved those classes. I attended a couple times for her virtual pound classes, and then I was pregnant and I had a high risk pregnancy and couldn't exercise, so that got in the way. But I'm intending to do it again, so it was really fun. And I feel like it's along the lines of my flavor of exercise. You don't even feel like it's exercise because you're dancing and with the music. It just feels fun. So
yeah.
Yes. And then the other thing I was going to say is that there's a girl in my neighborhood that started doing a workout class for moms, and you can bring your kids, and she just does it at a local church here. And it's along the same lines. I think it's upbeat there and high fitness. So yeah. So it's really great when women can just get together and exercise, and it's something that you need. So I love that.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, I love it because there's that community that comes with it too, which was also really big for my mental health as well. Like, it wasn't just friends that I had growing up that I brought into this class with me. It was also bringing friends that I had made as a mom and in college and stuff like that. And so I ended up bringing a bunch of people into the class that I had originally gone to. And so it was really nice having that community, but also kind of creating that as well. So it was just nice being able to be around other people.
Yeah. And so when was the class? Was it in the evenings when your husband could watch the kids, or?
Yeah. We put our kids to bed pretty early, usually about 7 o'clock each night. And so it was nice because my husband, he was a grad student, and then he would just be at home doing homework. And so I'd go once or twice a week and just go do my exercise class. And so it was really nice. And we do the same kind of thing now. I chose to teach in the evenings so that I could put my kids to bed and have being a mom first. And that way it wasn't going to get in the way.
Yeah.
And so it's been really nice with that. It's worked out really well.
Yeah, that's great. Okay. And then with cookies.
And then with cookies, again, like I said, my husband, he was in grad school at that time, and he was doing online grad school. And so for 3 years, he was doing an online grad degree. And so during that time, I just had the evenings all to myself, because especially since we put our kids to bed early, it was just a lot of time to myself. And I've always been an avid reader. I love books, and I've always loved that, but you can only read so much, especially when your husband is one of your only friends, which seems to be the norm once you get married. You kind of keep yourselves in that little box. But I decided to pursue learning about how to do royal icing decorating with cookies a couple years ago. And I had done it a little bit and had done it for like my kids' birthday parties and stuff like that, but was like, you know what? I really want to learn how to be good at this. So when people ask how I learned how to decorate cookies, I always say that I learned through the University of YouTube, because I watched so many videos of people decorating cookies and learning how to get the consistencies right and just all of that. And then just practicing and practicing and practicing. And so my husband, he just graduated with his grad degree was it in April? Yeah, I think it was in April when he graduated. So yeah, woohoo. It's so nice to have my husband back, especially from this last summer. But I don't know, it was just, I had been asked by multiple people when I was practicing, like, hey, do you sell these? I don't know. I guess I could just kind of caught onto that entrepreneurial bug with Pound. And so I kind of knew what I was doing with taxes and with building a business. And so it was nice to take those things from Pound and be able to apply it to my cookie business. And so I have been officially a business, Snow Cookie Creation, since the beginning of this year.
Mm.
And it's been really fun. I really love it. And I mean, I'm still learning how different processes work and getting faster at different things. But I'm going to be doing my third market for this year in a couple weeks. And it's been interesting seeing that whole process throughout the year and learning how to decorate different things with cookies. And it's just been a really fun hobby. But I knew with this hobby that I wanted it to make me money. With
Mm.
Pound, I knew that as a mom, if I didn't have something to push me, like a class, especially a class that I was teaching, I probably wasn't going to work out
Mm.
consistently.
Mm.
But and so with that, with Pound, I don't necessarily care how much I make,
Mm.
but with cookies, that I've actually been trying to make money with, not because my household needs it, but because it does take time and
Mm.
effort. And so I did want it to have a payback
Yeah.
for us. So yeah,
Yeah. And I think that's important too in talking about intentions and intentionality, just getting clear with what outcomes you want to see, and
uh-huh,
that drives your motivation and your process and everything like that. So that's good to have that clear in your mind,
for sure.
what is which one. And then I just wanted to say I love seeing your reels with the cookies. They're so beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
And it's cool to hear about it now and again when you mention things. I saw in a post that you said your projector wasn't working, so you had to freehand it. And in my mind, I was like,
Mhm.
oh, I just thought it was all freehand. It just looks
Yeah.
so great. So
No, there's a lot of tools of the trade, which is really nice.
yeah, that's cool. Well, all those baking secrets, that's so fun. Okay, so you mentioned that your husband was in grad school, which is how you had all this free time to pursue those interests. What does it look like now that he is home? When does home baking fit in now?
Well, it still happens a lot in the evenings.
Mm-hmm.
Now that school has started, my oldest is in kindergarten and it's turned to full day kindergarten here in Idaho
Okay.
instead of just half day. And then my second, he is doing preschool for 4 hours a week.
Mm.
And so I do have my youngest at home, but she's usually just kind of doing her own thing. So sometimes I'll do cookies during that time. We've also kind of, especially with some of the different markets that I've had this year, I've had to do cookies during the day, which is something that I try not to do, except for just like baking.
Mm.
But I try not to do decorating during the day if I can. That way I can do things with my family and my kids and being able to do things around the house and just being a normal wife and mom.
Yeah.
So I still do a lot of things at night. My husband, he's also an avid reader, but because of that, and just with just everything and trying to find clean literature and stuff, my husband, he was craving adventure and was like, man, I just can't find anything. And so he decided to take all his adventurous ideas and start writing a book himself. And so
Oh,
we've actually been, I more do his editing and help with some writing, but we've been writing a book together. And so he works on that a lot in the evenings and does that. So that's his thing that he's like really mentally involved in,
mm-hmm.
especially in the evenings. So we still make sure to carve out time with each other, especially in the later part of the evening. We're listening to a book series together right now.
That's fun.
And so we try to do something like that or watch a show together or something like that just to make sure we are spending that time together. And there, I'm not doing cookies every single night
Mm-hmm.
because I mostly do special orders. And so if there's a week that I don't have special orders, then of course I won't be doing cookies that week. But with that, it is nice to have that evening time to work on it for a few hours and then still spend time together.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I feel like that is how it is with my husband too. We'll either watch a show or do something, and then we separate and do our own thing, which is important too.
Uh-huh.
It's funny because I'm more of a night owl, so my husband will go to bed around 10-ish, and then I'm usually up to like 11 or 11:30, which is, I don't know. It's like once you get free time, you're like, oh, free time.
Yes, for sure.
Crazy. What is your perspective on preserving time and space for self-care?
Oh man. I feel like a lot of times social media and things kind of shove in our face of types of self-care that we should have.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, when I don't know, doing cookies kind of became a form of self-care because I could listen to an audiobook or a podcast or watch a show while I was doing it.
Yeah.
I don't know, even small things like making sure that I take a shower every day.
Yes.
By myself without any kids in the bathroom. Like that's a big thing for me. Like I really need to have that to wake up and to just kind of feel like I'm ready for the day. And so for me, that's a very small form of self-care that for some other people wouldn't necessarily be in their self-care. But I think it's finding what works for you personally and doing that. Like for me, for example, going to the store after my kids go to bed and getting groceries, that wouldn't be a form of self-care for me, even though it would be without my kids because it would still be me doing a chore. But for some reason, taking a shower by myself is. So I don't know. It's just, I think it's what you mentally find is your own self-care and going with that.
That's very true. Something that you said reminded me of something I'd heard on a podcast recently. She was talking about the concept of temptation bundling. And so she said pairing a chore or something that you dislike with something that you really like to do. And then that way you get it done. And I had just never heard that concept before. And so I don't know, I guess it's that thing inside of me that's like, oh, I need to tell someone about this. So it came to mind. But
no, I love that. I definitely do that when folding laundry. I hate folding laundry. Like if I could have a maid that just focused on laundry, like I would for sure do that because I just hate it so much. So whenever we have just mountains of laundry, because you can wash and dry laundry quickly, but for some reason it tends to take me 5 to 7 business days to like get it all back where it should be. And by that point, it's all ready to be washed again, which is so annoying.
Right.
But with that, I'm like, okay, I need to put on a show or listen to a book, or listen to a podcast or something to take my mind off of that so that whatever my hands is doing is just routine instead of focusing how much I hate it. So I like that term of the temptation bundling.
Yes. And I think that comes back to intentionality too, because she was also mentioning that something to get it more consistent with whatever you're struggling with is to do it at the same time every week or just make it routine, and then pair it with your temptation bundling. So I'm going to have to try that too, because I'm the same way with laundry. It's like, yeah, I can wash it, I can dry it, but it like stays in its laundry basket, So, yeah. So I'm curious where you see your business going, or what goals do you have or plans for your business?
With Pound, like I said, I'm not trying to make money, so I'm pretty content with it just staying small and just having my classes. I did go from 2 days a week of teaching to 1 day a week because I found that my body was it just wasn't doing it. So,
that's hard.
especially since I teach 2 classes virtually, but then I also do it with my sisters-in-law who are in the area 1 day a week. And so with it being 3 days, it was just too much. So that was really nice to have the flexibility to just go down to 2 days a week. Because my body was just telling me to. So that was really nice.
That's good.
But with cookies, I don't necessarily have any business goals this year. I think because I just wasn't sure what was going to happen. And so I was just kind of seeing this as a test year to see what expectations I could have with it. But I think for sure next year I'll have some goals. I don't know if those goals will be monetary, but I think I'll have a goal of doing like 3 or 4 markets throughout the year or doing a certain amount of pre-sales or stuff like that. And then just, I don't know, using those kind of markers I am a mom of 3 kids.
Yes.
And I run 2 businesses. Like this is a side thing. It is a business that I own, but I don't want it to be a full-on job. I want it to stay something that I like. And so because of that, I don't see myself pushing myself and my business really hard because I don't want it to become something that I don't like doing. And that isn't an outlet for me.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that makes sense.
I guess my goal with that is just keeping it something that I like to do and is actually a good outlet.
Yeah. I love what you said that this year's a trial year because I feel like a lot of people with their businesses, it's easy to get so excited and go gung ho and
Mhm.
all in, but I really like that approach that you're taking. Just, oh, let's see how it goes. No pressure, no stress, and just, well, not no stress, but
Yeah.
just keeping it a little bit more relaxed. That's good. And then also, I wanted to say too, it just seems like you're very in tune with your body and yourself and aware of things, which is important too. It takes intentionality to be aware
Hmm.
of those things and to say, hey, this is what I want it to look like. I don't want it to be something that I don't enjoy because I've done it too much or got burnt out
Yeah.
quickly. So that's great. I love that.
Well, and I understand that there are like times and seasons in our life, right?
Mhm.
Like when you're in college, I could go and work out every day at the gym for an hour, and I don't know, I had time for that, and I could do those kind of things. But now I don't have the time to do that,
Mhm.
especially with my kids. I'm helping get a kid off to kindergarten and then getting the other one to preschool a couple of days a week. And I have a 1 year old, and so there's just so much going on. And then your house is just, you're trying to have it not be a pigsty all the time.
Mhm.
But having two little boys who are learning how to go potty
Mhm.
and a little girl who wants to take everything out of the cupboards, it just feels like a losing battle with a lot of things. So I think I've had to learn to see that there's a time and season for everything. At this time of life, we're probably just going to have a messier house.
Mhm.
And I'm okay with that. And knowing that I'm not going to be able to work out every day. And I had 3 kids in 4 years. So, like, my body, it can't do certain
Right.
things. It just runs out of energy.
Yes.
But being able to recognize that for my mental health, I know that I need to exercise. Okay, so what can I do to make sure that I'm continually exercising? Oh, well, I will teach a fitness class. Okay, well, my husband is doing his own thing in the evenings. So what should I do? Well, let's learn a new hobby. And so there's stuff like that. And being able to learn how to flow and flex throughout all of life's changes.
Mm.
Like whenever we have another kid, things will probably change again because I get super sick for the first 3 months whenever I'm pregnant.
Oh, so
And even though we don't know when that is right now, just knowing that that's going to happen at some point, I know that things are just going to have to change. I probably won't be teaching pound for at least those first few months. I
mhm.
definitely won't be taking out any cookie orders on during those first few months. So like just knowing that I have the flexibility with my businesses, but also knowing that they are an outlet for me. I don't know, just everything.
Yeah.
I want those things that I take on to be beneficial to me, to work for me instead of me being a slave to them.
Yes, and that's very thoughtful. And it sounds like you've been planning ahead or just keeping those things in mind, which is important with intentionality too. Well, with 3 kids, you get enough exercise anyway, just taking care of them and taking care of the house, right? So
Yep,
the
for sure.
exercise just looks different.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I have to remind myself of that it looks different than when I was going to the gym and running and all that kind of stuff. So I'm still going up and down stairs and carrying baskets of laundry and carrying kids around and bending over constantly to pick up toys or dishes. And
Yeah,
so,
it just
yeah.
built into your day.
Mhm.
Okay, well, thank you for being on the podcast today, Jaleesa. I feel like it's so good to just hear from other women that are just in the same stage of life and that are just in the trenches like I am and, just doing life. So I really appreciated talking to you and having this conversation.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yes. Thank you for listening to today's episode, and I hope we can all be more intentional about our relationship with ourselves.